The following remarks are the sole opinion of one wrestling fan. It may not reflect the views and operations of WWE, AEW, or any other wrestling promotions.
What are you doing? You're supposed to meet me out front. It's
And I'm here at your doorstep with the World Heavyweight Championship.
wow, that's strong, brother. He's got whole Canadian wristbands on.
Sign on the dotted line.
I will, brother.
And surrender the title to me.
Whoa!
Wow. What?
Out of your mouth. We're going to start out on the right foot. I got something that'll keep you going all day long, Daddy. Don't worry about a thing, brother. This is the eye of the Hulkster, man. You got to get your head right.
Hulk, no.
This is the only way to go.
Welcome everyone to WeboManiacs, World of Wrestling. I am the WeboManiac, and today we're going to recap. I'm going to recap for you, and then I'm going to bring in Austin Goodroe. You love to hear from him. We do too. We're going to have him back in just a little bit. But first, I must get to the exciting action that was indeed SummerSlam. SummerSlam with Logan Paul versus LA Knight. Yeah. Logan Paul? No. LA Knight? Yeah. Definitely it was LA Knight's night indeed, as he captured that United States title finally. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. I owe Austin $1 because Sami Zayn actually didn't pull through like I thought he would, so I guess it's the comedy club for Sami here on out, as Braun Breaker made a joke of Sami Zayn capturing that Intercontinental title. Dom and Liv Morgan pulled the biggest swerve on Rhea Ripley, as Dom originally just tried to stop Rhea from getting disqualified with the chair, only to set her up for one of the oldest tricks in the book, a distraction job with Dom distracting the referee, Liv putting her finisher move on Rhea, 1, 2, 3. She remains your women's champion. Damian Priest, however, lost his title to none other than Gunther. And even though Austin and I predicted Gunther would in fact win, we thought we would see a reemergence of Imperium, but that was not to be the case, as there was no Ludwig Kaiser or Giovanni Vinci anywhere in sight. Gunther did it on his own. Congratulations, Gunther, in being the new world champion, not without help from one Finn Balor. Finn Balor turned his back on Judgment Day. Damian Priest and Finn Balor's brotherly rivalry met its climax in that match when Finn Balor put the foot of Gunther on the ropes to save Gunther from being pinned after a South of Heaven devastating maneuver from Damian Priest. Bayley versus Nia Jax. The double cross of Tiffany Stratton did not happen. However, she, in another distraction type of job, did a fake attempted cash-in just to gain the attention of Bayley long enough for Nia to annihilate Bayley with 2 annihilators from the top rope. CM Punk versus Drew with Seth. We're going to talk about the ramifications that happened on Raw in this, as CM Punk and Drew continue their feud, only for Seth to make a devastating exit from the company at this particular time, as he's going to be joining his wife, Becky Lynch, raising their kid at home, I do believe. So CM Punk versus Drew. Also, there's more to talk about involving Drew and Punk and that bracelet coming up, as we'll talk about more involving that. Cody Rhodes versus Solo, with the return of the face turn of the only original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, made the save for Cody, and an injury to one Fatu. All this took place at SummerSlam. We were right about some, we were wrong about others. I think I owe Austin $1. And let's hear from him now as you tell us the fallout involving each one of these, and where do you think the storyline's gone? Austin, welcome back.
The fallout after SummerSlam, with all these matches, the storylines can obviously go in different directions. I would say Logan Paul's not finished with LA Knight yet. Rhea goes on a devastating face run. Damian goes on a devastating face run. Braun Breaker reigns supreme as Intercontinental Champion. Nia as Women's Champion, Women's World Champion, somewhere down the road. Could we see Stratton cash in? Punk versus Drew, I do believe the rivalry continues and goes into Bad Blood. There's so many directions the company could take each of these storylines. However, I do agree with you on Seth joining Becky at home to raise their kid. Now, with the face turn of Roman, I foresee the original bloodline coming to a fold, turning into a family battle, if you will.
The only thing I see involving anything to do with the old bloodline is you need the Usos together. And Jay has been making more strides as a singles. And he even made mention of, after Sammy gets his gold back from Braun Breaker, I don't foresee that happening. I don't know if Jay was telling a joke or if he was making a joke. But Braun Breaker sure made a joke of Sami Zayn. But Jay has actually been more of happy on his own. I don't even know if Jimmy will be coming back, as his wife, Naomi, I'm not seeing her glowing in the spotlight as much either, as she wasn't even on the card for SummerSlam. However, never say never in the WWE. We've always heard that one. As far as Rhea Ripley becoming a face turn, I think she just loves to keep you swerved. She loves to keep you, no pun intended, Strickland, but I think she loves to keep things unbalanced so that she can be so that she could be that doomsday brutality nightmare that she loves to be. So I think she's just going to be one to say, you took it and I want it back. That's particularly my opinion on where that storyline goes. Bayley's done everything. Bayley's done everything. I think it's actually her time to join the likes of, say, a Natalya or something, or even have the two team up to actually become champions again. They did that run once before. They should actually remember storyline and bring those two back together. I think it would actually be something good. The Tiffany Stratton actually becoming champion one day, it may not be off of Nia, though. If I were Tiffany, I would make sure of it not to be. CM Punk versus Drew versus Seth. Now, Seth was written off of television as of this past Monday night when CM Punk and Seth were in the ring. CM Punk told how healthy he was, told how good to go he was, ready for a fight, how he was. And all of a sudden, Seth comes out when he thinks he's going to get Drew. Who does he get? He gets Seth. Seth, for one of the first times in his career, came out very seriously. He didn't even pander to the crowd with his chant. He didn't do it. He didn't do his song. This was the one time he didn't. And was this the last time we hear the song of Seth Rollins? Who's to say? But Drew and CM Punk taking it more to a deeper level, getting even more dirty on each other. Drew with the victory over CM Punk at SummerSlam, removing the bracelet. And that bracelet, let's talk about that just for a minute. That bracelet was given to CM Punk by a fan that made it. Not only did they decide to make a storyline out of this and treat it almost like a championship, because that's really what it is. It's a trophy. It's a championship to CM Punk, and Drew wants to take it. Doesn't have to be gold or diamonds for it to be a championship. It's something that is of value to CM Punk. It has his wife's name, his dog's name, and his name on it, along with his stars and everything else. The fan that made it actually made news and headlines as to talking about compensation for usage of the bracelet and not getting paid. To me, that's not really being a fan. What we do here at WeboManiacs World of Wrestling is being a fan. We're not in it for the money. This fan, however, was. What say you, Austin, to that? And then I'll get to more about the bloodline on this as soon as I hear back from you.
The whole entire wanting compensation for the bracelet? No. Us fans here, we know the value the bracelet has to Punk. We know why it's being used in a storyline. As for seeing Natalya and Bayley as a tag team again, I'm all for it. Later on, down the road, if Tiffany does cash in, I, however, believe she'll jump ship to Raw, and whoever is champion at the time, she'll cash in on said champion. Now, I, however, do agree on the point we didn't see Naomi on the SummerSlam card. Jimmy is still out of the picture per se. So there's so many unanswered questions. And with Seth being written off on Raw by the big Big Splash by Big Bronson Reed. I say the more center focus for now is going to be Punk and Drew. As a fan, folks, my opinion is that's going to be something good to see. Now, would I like to see Punk and Rollins later on down the road? Yes, I would. But as of now, there's so much going on in professional wrestling, in the WWE. Never say never. The storyline options at this point is endless.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that the storyline with the bloodline and everything in WWE is in fact endless. That is the reason for its success to the high monster level that it's become. Speaking of monsters, the one that took out Seth Rollins, Seth freaking Rollins, Shield member, Seth freaking Rollins, Messiah, Seth freaking Rollins, for everything that dude has accomplished. They went with more bigger is better to take on the same hungry role as Braun Breaker did when he kept bullying Adam Pearce into giving him what he wanted. And of course, what he wanted was chance at gold. And how do you get into that without waiting 10 to 15 years? You go in and you take it. That's what he did with Sami Zayn, but that's also what the upcoming rising star that wanted to make his mark. And how did he do it on Seth Rollins? With 6 tsunamis from the top rope onto the body of Seth frickin' Rollins. It's almost like it took 6 people to take him out, but instead it took 6 tsunamis straight off that top rope. And I didn't think he was going to stop. And then Rollins was bleeding. Blood was back on Raw, thanks to Sci-Fi, as I'm sure Austin's going to concur with me on this, that once it goes back to USA Network, and then we have NXT will be on CW, and Solo. Solo's played this part really well. If I remember, as this led up in the storyline, Roman did indeed all but try to anoint Solo and told him that he was grooming him to be the next tribal chief. That's why Jimmy kind of felt a little bit askew, and you haven't seen him since. Jimmy, I do believe, will make an appearance, quite possibly, in the Royal Rumble. And I believe this storyline with the bloodline will continue until the next WrestleMania, as we're going to be leading in with characters on how The Rock is going to take sides and probably join up with Solo. And I do believe Fatu might even join in with Roman, Usos, and you just might have that family feud without Steve Harvey, that's for sure. But when we come back, I want to hear from Austin as to what took place finally as we saw the Wyatt Six. Yours truly is an epileptic, and I'm susceptible to lights, and thus I don't get a fair shake at being able to call for analysis of the storyline involving the Wyatts. As dark as they are, and we know darkness runs in the WWE, such as The Undertaker, such as Kamala, such as different ones of this nature, Papa Shango. The list goes on. But here we have the Wyatt Six finally in action. And Austin, give me your take on this as to what's happening. But when I finally got a chance to see the match, I was more than impressed. I knew each individual star in there had abilities. The only one I was uncertain of was essentially Dexter Lumis when he was involved in the storyline those many months and months ago of just being let out of the building each and every time. Now he's got dreadlocks on his head and everything, and he's actually, you know, your Buzzard character, Percy the Buzzard, on there. Austin, the Wyatt Six is your domain. Tell us your emotional take.
Well, thank you, David. You know, in life, things break, things shatter. A legacy once shattered, tied in tragedy, is now reborn through one Taylor Rotunda. Now, when the Wyatt Six first made themselves known in what was one of the most gruesome debuts I've seen on WWE TV in a while, I knew we were going to be in for a ride. As the weeks led up, tapes being played, spatial appearances all converged into a six-man against American Made. The legacy of one Bray Wyatt, aka Wyndham Rotunda, lives on. Now, upon seeing the highlights from Monday Night Raw, the entrance of the Wyatt Six, the chair, the lantern, I couldn't help but to just shed a tear when I heard the first few notes of Shattered. Because, you see, to me, the Wyatt Six is more than just some stable. It's more than just a gimmick. It's the legacy that lives on. Through Bo, through Joe, through Loomis, and Cross. Now, upon seeing the highlights from the match, I am very well impressed with the continuity and how they are taking Bray's idea and doing it justice. Now, I seen the spider maneuver being done by one Joe Gacy. And when I seen that, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. All I could think to myself was, what would, if Bray was still here, what would Bray think? Honestly, deep in my heart, I believe Bray would have loved this. The mystique, the keeping the Firefly Funhouse characters alive, the repackaging of Loomis, the repackaging of Gacy, bringing Rowan back, all the stars aligned, and everything is perfect. The continuity is what I like to see.
And we're going to continue on here, believe it or not, in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling every Saturday night here in youtube.com/WeboManiac. Thank you, Austin. That was an emotional recapping of said match on Monday Night Raw. You may have only seen highlights of it, but and I may even show you clips of it myself in here, as you just never know what you're going to see here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. I will say, as far as that spider maneuver, maybe that explains the reasons for the longer hair and everything there, because they had to imitate, and imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery to any individual, bar none. I will say that. But one individual I didn't hear you mention in there that gets honored even more so inside AEW, as WWE rules, but WWE is not just, we have fans in a WWE universe, and we have fans in a world of AEW as well. And even though the last place that one Luke Harper actually wrestled in, Luke was actually he was actually shown in an emotional way from Rowan during that match. I don't know if that was captured in the highlights that you had seen, but if you get a chance to see the entire match, you need to go check this out. Yours truly, like I said, flashing lights. I was waiting for the light show to stop so I could actually enjoy the action and enjoy the match. That's what I'm here for, to give commentary, analysis. I give you my take. My guests come on, they'll give you their take. And as you see, what an emotional take it was. We've already discussed the injury list and being written out of a storyline. That's what Seth Rollins has happened with Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is on an uphill climb, and I think he's going to try to go after that Intercontinental Championship, as Braun Breaker wanted to say, who's going to be crazy enough to want to try to take this from me. As far as he was concerned, he said he was on the hunt, that he doesn't even have a target on his back. He wants to remove that aspect of being a champion, that he wants to actually say that he wants to be the one to go out on the hunt. Even though he's got the prize, he still feels like he wants to hunt. And I think they're doing kind of a good job here with rising up this one superstar. Also, let's talk a little bit about Sheamus and Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser. Another triple threat of superstars looking to get their piece and their cut in this. We know what Sheamus wants. Sheamus wants that Intercontinental title. So Sheamus might have to go through Bronson Reed, if I'm looking at this correctly, in order to qualify to go after the Intercontinental title. What say you on these particular scenarios here, Austin? And I will say also that, continuing from where we left off with the Wyatts, dark matches is something else I want to talk about. As after a show ends, what are these matches, and are these matches lost in the shuffle of the success of a superstar, and will dark matches eventually make it to storyline? What say you? And I'd like to hear from all the rest of my fans out here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. Catch me every Saturday here on youtube.com/WeboManiac. Write me at WeboManiac@yahoo.com or WeboManiac211@gmail.com. Contact me on Instagram at WeboManiac211. Austin, what say you?
Sheamus, Pete Dunne, and Ludwig Kaiser, that's a triple threat in its own. But the question remains, do they have what it takes to chase after what they want? And as far as dark matches go, in my opinion, dark matches to me should be part of a storyline. They shouldn't be shown off TV. They shouldn't be shown after they go off air. If you really want to make a storyline make sense, don't put two superstars and say, oh, it's not going to be televised. We're going to make that a dark match. You make it a dark match, it's not televised, nothing of that nature, and later on these two superstars get into a storyline, you begin to wonder, how did these two end up in this said storyline?
Exactly. And, in talking about dark matches are matches that are seen and put on performance for the fans that doesn't get televised. It's stuff that you thought you'd never see and probably never will see again. I think it's more of a lure-in as to get you to come back to the show, just so you can actually pay your hard-earned money to sit and see certain things that you've never seen before and won't see on TV. But when you have emotional get-downs as things involving the appearance of one Stephanie McMahon. A McMahon was at SummerSlam. That McMahon was the $1 billion princess, Stephanie McMahon, one wife of the chief content officer, one Triple H Levesque. John Paul Triple H Levesque. Okay. And just the seeing of a McMahon, does it give you chills or goosebumps as to what possibly could be happening in the next year with other companies, whether it be TNA or it could be AEW? Both have opened conversations to actually doing discussions in trading of other stars for their various platforms. You're going to see others that's contracts has end up in WWE, and when they do, all of a sudden they're a good guy in WWE fans' eyes. What I've noticed on the social media platforms is everybody wants to down AEW. Just like everybody wanted to down World Class Championship Wrestling back in the day of. Those particular organizations are launching pads or training grounds for future superstars to be in the biggest company that there is, and that is the WWE. Every other organization knows that. They know once you've come to WWE, you made it the big time. But when you're a guy like Jon Moxley, who we haven't seen in forever, and one of my friends even indicated to me they thought, could we see a Shield reformation with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and possibly even Moxley's contract expiring and going over back to the other side now that he's not under the control of Vince. I'd like to hear what you've got to say.
Seeing the sight of another McMahon at SummerSlam, Triple H's wife nonetheless, indicates to me that we could very much in the next year see a mashup with TNA, other promotions opening their doors, opening discussions with WWE. We could see matches on WWE TV that we have dreamed of seeing but never got the chance to see, or even a whiff of that under Vince. At this point, anything and everything is possible. When you think about it, imagine all these promotions coming in, mixing it up with these WWE superstars. Now, as for the Shield reunion, I'm all for it. I would love to see a Shield reunion. Would love it. More than anything, I would love to see a Shield reunion.
Well, just making you understand specifics here and statistics, they say that the Wyatts, for where they were at this past Monday, was in the same location that the Wyatts actually debuted those many years ago. And if you remember, during that particular time, the Wyatts and the Shield were the only two factions that could take each other out. Okay? And we saw the Wyatts were the ones that got taken out by the Shield. But this is a new set of Wyatts other than Rowan. This is a new spectacle of stuff that only was dreamt in the head of one Wyndham Rotunda. This could go leaps and bounds beyond if, in fact, a Shield reunion does take place. And, of course, the place where the Shield was reformed with Survivor Series. Now, we're in August. We just had SummerSlam. Survivor Series would have to actually be the next one up around the corner on one of the big Final Four, as I call it. And you're going to just see Bloodline rule in that one. So I don't think there's going to be room for Wyatt's and Shield. So I'm thinking that could be something that would be head up for the following year of Survivor Series. You just have to watch how things play out. Expect the unexpected. You never know when Seth would make a return. You never know when Becky will make a return. There's even been talk of the fiancé of one Wyndham Rotunda. JoJo has made waves on social media saying that she had been working out and looking to think about coming back. Her words, not mine, but what shakeup would that bring to the company when you have the fiancé of the late Wyndham Rotunda? And is she the sixth one in that Wyatt six? Or is it always Bray that they're thinking of? And as I said, I didn't even hear you mention Luke, but Luke gets honored in AEW, and it just seems to me that there's a conflict of interest in acknowledging Luke, but Rowan certainly did as I watched that whole match. Like I said, the lead up to it, you know, if I had to say, throw a match against the wall and see if it sticks, that's the way I had to look at this, because I couldn't really follow it with all the flashing, eye glimmering things that just make your vision go whack or something. And for a 50-year-old man here, 54-year-old man here, folks, that's just not good on me. Or as Hulk would say, that doesn't work for me, brother. But what does work is hearing from you, my loyal fans, here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. That'll wrap it up for this week. We hope to hear from you next week as we just continue to see these storylines unfold, new superstars created, and more will be taking place, as when we find it, it's going to get caught up in the web. See you next time, folks.